Society as a whole is like, oh, well, if you go after like creative endeavors or an artistic passion, you'll never make money. I really admire people who pursue art now because you're really going against the grain. The job market sucks, so there's no other option besides chasing after my dreams. I think we forget a lot of times that the highest form of spirituality is having fun. And today I wanted to film more of a chill video. So right now I'm at a park. It's really, really pretty. The sun finally came out and I just wanted to come here and kind of journal. I've been super into the whole traveler's notebook trend, and I'm so glad that journaling has become a trend again because I used to journal a lot when I was younger. I would journal every day. I would just write about my day, and that was the only format that I knew of. Um, but because I'm so detail oriented, it kind of became like a chore to me because I felt like I had to get all the details in, and there was just never enough time for me to write all the details in. And so I kind of just stopped. But with this whole revitalization of journaling and traveler's notebooks and just having like a commonplace notebook, I feel like it's really helps me get back into journaling and realize that there's more ways to journal than just writing about my day. Like I can really write about anything, and I don't know why I didn't realize this earlier, that I have free will to write anything that I want. But I really just thought that you had to write it in a structured way. But with this trend, it's really opened me to the possibilities. And I've always loved writing. I just never realized that I could do more with writing than what I was doing. So, yeah, I mean, this is my journal. I just got it off of Amazon and I think it's super pretty. I think it's my favorite color, which is purple/burgundy, which you might notice me wearing a lot in my videos because they're my favorite colors and it's also the color on my head. But yeah, I've just been super into journaling, especially now that I'm doing the artist way, which is this book for people who aren't feeling super creative or kind of down in the dumps in their life. There's like this joke that you only do it once you've reached rock bottom. And I guess that's sort of true for me because I had a breakup a few months ago and it kind of rocked my world in a sense of like that was kind of the only stable thing in my life. And the breakup hurt, of course, but it was more so me not having that stability anymore and having to turn around and face the rest of my life and realizing that I didn't like the rest of my life at all. I didn't like any aspect of my life. I was very dissatisfied with every part of my life now that I had to face it and realize that. And that was a pretty harsh realization. It was very much a rude awakening. And I was like, dang, okay, well, I guess now I have to change my life completely, like every aspect. And of course, change starts within. And so I just read a bunch of self development books, which really, really helped. I got back into meditation, journaling, and of course, back to the artist way. And yeah, it's like this 12-week process where you're given a new topic to focus on every week, where the goal is essentially to get your creative self back, get your inner child back, and just gain some creative agency over your life and get rid of any self doubt and rediscover your inner child. And I found that it's helped me so much because I've never considered myself a creative person. I have always been very STEM focused. That's what's been pushed on me my whole life. And yeah, so I just never thought of myself as a creative person or artistic or any of that stuff. So I never even like delved into it because I was like, oh, I can never do that. That's just not the type of person I am. But once you read this book, you realize that everyone has a creative self inside of them, and that's what's really trying to come out. like especially with people who repress their inner child, they repress their creative self, and that was me. That was totally me. Everyone around me when I was growing up pushed me towards STEM, and you know, not even everyone around me, just society as a whole is like, oh, well, if you go after like creative endeavors or an artistic passion, you'll never make money. And that's scary. So, of course, I never went down that path. And I sort of thought of myself as superior because I was so focused on STEM. Um, yeah, but now that I am doing this whole process, I am very much realizing the importance of creativity and fun and playfulness and whimsy in my life. I really admire people who pursue art now because you're really going against the grain. And I mean, I think a lot of people are realizing this now too with the whole job market. There's this whole trend of being like, well, the job market sucks, so it's I guess there's no other option besides chasing after my dreams. And it's funny that, capitalism has gotten so bad that we're like, oh, actually, I do need to pursue my dreams because that's the only fulfillment I'm going to get because a lot of people who are graduating now don't have jobs. Even people in STEM, a lot of people in STEM worked so hard to get their degrees and they were kind of promised a job after college. That's the whole STEM thing is it's stable, but now they're right there with the, art stereotype of you're not going to make money with that because the tech market is super oversaturated. And I think we're all kind of coming to a realization that maybe that's not the path to go on if you want stability in your life. Um, yeah, so now that I'm doing the artist way, I feel a lot more creative and I feel a lot closer to kind of what I want to do with my life. Maybe not my life, but what I want to do now. And it's really, really helped me rediscover my inner child. And yeah, it's really gotten me back into journaling and even just doing like cute stuff, like literally just cute stuff where I'm like putting stickers and photos that I like into a notebook and it makes me happy because it's fun. And back when I was in my self development maxing phase, that was like 2 weeks ago, um, I wasn't having fun. Like, I think it was a necessary part of rebuilding my life and rebuilding my self worth and identity. But I think if I'd only continued doing my self help books, there's no fun in that. Like, I think it's necessary and it's serious, but you really need to be able to balance out the fun with that. And I didn't realize that. And I started to get bored with my self development books. I didn't really want to read them anymore. I feel like I'd gotten the main points out of all of them. A lot of them say the same thing. And sometimes you need to read a few to gain different perspectives and really drill that into your head. And I felt like I had gotten to that point, and so I just wanted something fun to read. And so I remembered that I really loved reading fantasy books in high school. Any fantasy book, just fiction. I would only read fiction. But for the past few years, I've strictly read nonfiction. So I was like, okay, maybe I'll pick up a fantasy book, a fiction book, just to, see how I like it. Because I was desperate for anything besides nonfiction and self development. And I picked up a fantasy book, and it really changed my perspective on reading a lot. It really helped my imagination grow and helped me feel more creative and just happier. Like it's so lovely to have something besides reality to focus on. I feel like reading fiction and fantasy also expands your sense of reality because you realize that there are possibilities out there that are not just strictly set within rules and all that stuff. And so I really appreciated that fantasy book for widening my perspective, I'd say. And yeah, I now know to always balance fun and whimsy with the serious parts of life. Because, I mean, there's this whole thing with spirituality. Like, Yes, a lot of spirituality is reading books and meditating and practicing spirituality and writing and being introspective. But I think we forget a lot of times that the highest form of spirituality is having fun. It's playing around and being creative and just having that sense of whimsy and lightheartedness that everything's going to be okay because you're having fun. And that's, yeah, that's the highest form of spirituality. And it took me a long time to realize that. It took me a long time of seriousness to realize that.